up, I was getting a thumbs up or a thumbs down from way back there. Hello, people of DragonCon. Hello. Yes. My name's Kevin. I'm with the DragonCon American Sci-Fi Classics track, and it's great to see the upper half of all your faces here today. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Tired already? It's Saturday, man. A long way to go. We'll get through this together. It's a weird year, but that's okay, because we're here to talk about a weird show, but a wonderful show that we love. So you guys ready for this? Are you ready to go back to like 1974? Let's go beyond time and space. Let's go to the land of the lost. Let's do this. Let's bring it up. Please, first, let's welcome. She was Holly. Here is Kathleen Coleman.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And hey, how about Holly's big brother, Will? Here's Wesley Eure. And that's it, right? Nobody else?
No, we have a special guest.
Oh.
No, it's not Spencer Milligan. Please don't make any sudden moves, everyone. Please be very careful. Be very, very careful. They're not going to bite you, Slatch. Come on up. Come on up. Come on. You know, in this light, he can't see very well. He's used to a dark cave. Sit. 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 You gonna behave? You know, you should have seen him getting on the airplane.
He left a Smilex case.
Hi guys. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like this deep cut reference right out of the gate, Kathleen, the Smilex case.
See? Always got me thinking, Kevin.
And Kevin, what an honor. I mean, listen, we're lucky to have Kevin as moderator. He's one of the best. I don't know if you guys have been to his other panels, but he is the best host that we've had. So thank you so much.
I am honored. Thank you so much. God. We'll get my mask all soaking wet.
No, and Kevin yesterday gave us, he made these banner ribbons that say "Run, Holly, run" with this Lisa. Isn't that great? So stop by our booth, guys. We have some, okay?
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of like that we started with Smilex cases. I wanted to get into some of the weirder details of
Cool.
the show.
I like that.
So yeah, we can start with the food, because that's certainly an issue when you suddenly find yourself transported to a weird new other dimensional world that you gotta eat, and your food options were unusual.
Stone soup. That's always a Friday favorite.
You know, I had just gotten to California a few years ago. I mean, I was from Mississippi and Louisiana, and when we were on the set, one of the first things, we had a meal, and they had this giant root, and it was jicama. And I'd never had jicama. You know, have you guys eaten jicama? It's, you know, it's like a sweet apple and stuff like that. And I gotta tell you, it was the first time I'd ever had something, because it looked prehistoric, right? It looked like a big old root. But oh my gosh, it's become my favorite. It's my favorite go-to to this day. So you know, those old eating habits became part of my life from then on. So. And what about you? Have you been eating moths lately? Hakuni.
Now we know why
Do you like
Phil's
those medium rare? No?
Oh,
Medium rare or well done?
Rare.
Rare. Ooh.
Can I tell you guys something to start to today?
Yes.
This is a little emotional, to be honest. Kathy told me a story today that I had never heard. It's about DragonCon. And would you share the story? Walker Edmondson, as you guys know, played Enid. And he was sick in he monster the voice, and the voice of a lot of things. And years ago, Kathy, we weren't here, it was her first DragonCon, and she was with Walker. And today, at breakfast, she told me a story about DragonCon. Walker. Would you share that story? It is.
Well, we were up in the green room, and one of the volunteers was telling me a story about Bill Gerard and how he met his wife. And it's a very tender, very sweet story. And for some reason, that just stimulated my thought about the story that I have to share with you right now, which took place about 10 to 12 years ago, I think. It was here at DragonCon. And I came to the show with Walker Edmonston, who played, not only did he play Enoch on our show, but he also played the miner with the cannon. That was him. And he was also the voice of Sigmund and all that. But anyway, we're at Burbank Airport leaving to come here. And he was a man of many voices. So he was always just pulling one out of his hat after the next. And so I'm sitting next to him on the airplane. Mind you, this is around like after 9/11, so there's a lot of restrictions and a lot of fear floating around in airports. And all of a sudden we're going down the tarmac, and Walker stands up and he goes, "Hold on a minute." He goes, "What airline are we on?" He goes, "This is American." And I'm like, Walker, and I can't help it because I'm laughing, but I'm like scared too because we're gonna get in trouble. And he's like, "This is an American airline, turn this plane around," you know. So he was just such a character. But anyway, so we finally get here, and the first day of the show, he spots this woman. She's about 25 years old. She's wearing a Star Trek costume of all things. And he says, "Oh my God." And I don't know if he's playing another game with me or not. He goes, "Oh my God," he said, "that's my wife right there." And I'm like, "What?" You know? And I haven't hung around Walker since the show, so I don't really know what he's into these days. I knew from being at the show with him when the show ended, his wife had recently passed away. Well, apparently at the time when his wife passed away, she told him, "Look, you don't come looking for me anytime soon. You got a lot of years left to live, so you live your life and you don't come chasing me down, you know." And then she passed away. Well, so he wasn't given, you know, her okay to you know, feel bad and you know, hurry up and meet her. Well, anyway, when he met this girl at the show, he said, "She looks exactly like my wife did when I met her, you know, all those years ago." Well, they wound up having coffee every morning and every evening while he was here for those 5 days. On the last day, and I'm watching this whole thing transpire over the course of those days. And he's like, "Are you watching this?" And I'm saying, "I'm not missing a beat," which I never do. And he said, "You know what, the last day," he goes, "I've been given permission to go home." We left the show, my husband and I went and saw him at his house. And 2 days after we saw him at his house, so it would have been 7 days or 9 days after the show, he passed away. But I was like, when I heard his daughter called me, I was like, "Oh my God." And then I was like, "Oh my God," you know, I was so elated and so happy that he was home. You know, he got to all those years, it was like 30 years between his wife passing and him getting to be with her. And he served out his time here, and it made a lot of people happy. And he got to be with the love of his life. And that girl was just a facilitator of joy, you know, and she was absolutely stunning, this girl. She was a full-on angel, you know, and I got to see that. I mean, I really, honest to God, I know it sounds really ethereal and spiritual and crazy, but I really saw it with my own eyes and I felt it with my heart. It was lovely, absolutely lovely, and that magic took place right here at DragonCon. Thank you for letting me share that.
No, that's
I'd never heard the story until this morning, guys.
so wonderful to hear, Kathleen. Actually, Walker was on, that was one of the people I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah,
It was
he
Walker
was
Edmondson.
an amazing man.
Yeah. You get the DVD sets that you had a few years back. There's an interview with Walker on one of the DVDs from Land of the Lost that you really get to hear him speak. at length about his career and specifically then with us, so I recommend that. Yeah, this is a guy that spent decades entertaining children and being in Cecil back in the 60s. He were on all the craft shows. He was the body of HR Buck and stuff.
He was, there's a guy named Kier. He bought the original Enoch outfit. It was like really trashed, and he totally restored it. It's gorgeous. He spent $16,000 putting the tunic back together with the crystal. And we did a show. We did Chiller a few years ago, and Kier came with the costume on a mannequin, and we sat next to it. And when I first saw it, remember that Walker was in that costume, and that was exactly what Walker looked like. And Walker was in the costume. He was the voice of Enoch, and he moved the mouth at the same time. So it wasn't like dubbed over. It was in real time, Enoch. So it was like standing in front of Walker and then said again. And again, it was so emotional. We loved him. And we had not seen him obviously in years. And to be there in the presence of that costume was really kind of emotional. I mean, it was. I know this is getting a little downer today. I apologize. Oh my God. But it was a very emotional thing. It's amazing how our costume. God knows we all know about costumes here, right? Hello. And the fun and joy, but to be in the presence of the original costume, so perfectly restored, was extraordinary.
Yeah, on that interview, you can see Walker talks about the costume, the Enoch costume, and he says after they made it, they fitted his body, but then it was too brittle or too tough. It didn't stretch properly. They had to cut slashes in the front of it so it would move properly, and that's why they added the tunic to cover those cuts they had in there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Walker said that in the interview, and which worked out wonderfully. It's such an iconic part of the character, is that sparkly tunic.
Right.
It also separated him from, he was from the past, and so he's that for the future. We found that in one episode, that they were de-evolving, basically, and becoming more warlike. And, for kids' shows, the sci-fi, David Gerald was our head writer. David wrote Trouble with Tribbles. We had all Star Trek writers, pretty much. We had Walter Koenig, the original Chekhov, created Enoch, wrote the first episode introducing Enoch. DC Fontana, Larry Niven, Spinrad. It was Dorothy Fontana, she used DC Fontana because women were not given the same opportunities in sci-fi. They were like, it was a boys' club, right, back in the day. And so she had to use DC to fool everybody to think it was a guy writing. And Kathy's favorite episode was written by DC.
What was your favorite episode?
Yeah, which one?
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's when I meet my future self. And also, what was really cool about that, not only at the time, this woman became my mentor and, off screen, but,
Erica.
yeah, her name was Erica Hagan. And about, I guess it was almost 40 years later, she and I met back up and had lunch, and she wrote the introduction to my book for me. And I was able to tell her, which is really that old saying that people say, tell the people while they're here how much you love them, or tell them what they meant to you. A school teacher, how she was such a big part of who you became later on in life because of her, encouragement and her belief in you. And I told her, I said, you have no idea how much of a mentor you were to me. And she said, you're absolutely right, I had no idea. And I told her the magical things that she had done for me, and she was clueless on it. So she told me, well, you'll read it in my book if you ever get around to get my book.
Kathy sold out of her books yesterday, one day.
I'm taking orders. I will have books, they come on the 7th, but a little too late for this show, but I will have them at home, and that way I can send them to you autographed, because if you get them on Amazon, to try to send it to me, and then all of that is a nightmare, but it's the same price as if you bought it from me here. I will put it in the mail, all included, so.
Good deal. Nice. Yeah, Erica Hagan appeared on a couple of episodes. She plays Ronnie, which is the future Holly, who you met, which is a fantastic episode. And me, That's when she gave you those pendants.
Right,
You could communicate.
right.
The family used those pendants to communicate with each other after that, which was super helpful in the Land of Lost. And then Erica also played like a version of your mother
Right.
in one episode. Like the C-Stacks created a false vision of your mother, which was also particularly
For a Saturday morning show, yeah, they had our dead mother in the midst. Yeah, welcome to Saturday morning, kids. How's your Captain Crunch today?
That's so funny because she autographed a photo to me many, many years ago, and it said, I've been your sister, or no, I've been your mother, I have been you in the future, next time, let's be sisters.
Oh, wow.
And I always have told everybody, she not only played me in the future, but she played her mother too in an episode. And they're like, no, Brooke Bundy played your mother. And I was like, now I'm confused. But Brooke Bundy never played the mother, she just played like a vision or something.
Yeah, it was one that
Like a
Spencer.
trick that the Zarn had
Oh, yeah.
created. Like,
Yeah, that wasn't your mother. That was another woman supposed to be from Earth who grew up in the same neighborhood.
But
as-
she wasn't
as-
our
as
mother,
Brett.
right?
No.
And
Right.
when I was on Days of Our Lives at the same time, playing Mike Horton.
Sometimes.
And Brooke was also on Days of Our Lives. And then when we did the third season, when Ron Harper came in, his wife was on Days of Our Lives with me at the same time. It was a little confusing, you know.
Well, again, why don't we get into some of the weird stuff? So we can circle back to the food, to the snacks case and whatnot. Because I was especially earlier episodes, it was the giant vegetables were a big thing because we were trying to figure out how to eat. What are those props like? Is the other one? Because it looked like each carrot weighed like 200 pounds.
Because we had it on a hoist.
Yeah.
But the sand, we had enough sand. I'm sorry, I just get so comfortable talking. I just want to keep talking. But the sand was so deep on the set in our jungle that we literally, if the carrot was that long, it was that deep in the sand, and we pulled it out of the sand with that hoist.
Yeah, the props on the show, we had the best prop makers and stuff. And, you know, Michael Westmore